Watch KSTV weeknights at 7:30 and 11 Eastern, and anytime with Inside On Demand on Channel 103.
Tonight, joined again by Leslie Neely, but no offense, Leslie, the big news is Andrew Bishop's here, KSTV Casting Call finalist.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, we might need to get you to show us that handshake, and that was impressive. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, we practiced for a little bit before we got
here. Yeah, that looks like it has years of practice, so that's impressive. Let's get to the starting lineup. Now, the UK basketball program released its non-conference schedule today, and it's a little underwhelming to say the least. It will start, of course, with Big Blue Madness in October, a blue-white game. Then they'll play powerhouses like Northwood, Transylvania, before they play Maryland and Duke, Lafayette, Morehead State, Long Island, Notre Dame, Baylor, and then a bunch of other schools you don't care about too. You get to Louisville, and then Eastern Michigan. Andrew, when you look at this schedule, we knew there were going to be changes coming.
Right.
You know, Indiana was going to be off the schedule. Are you disappointed, or is it just one of those things you understand where it's coming from?
I understand where it's coming from. I mean, it's a schedule. We knew Indiana wasn't going to be on there. We knew North Carolina wasn't going to be on there. We're going to be playing a good Baylor team. We're going to be playing Duke away at a neutral site. I think that opens up great opportunities for these players to get that on-the-road experience and on the road at a neutral site, because that's what they need for the big tournament. So I like it.
Do you think, Leslie, do you think that fans kind of get gypped a little bit, though, because they're taking these games to neutral sites and then replacing them with powerhouses like Northwood?
I think, well, yeah, Northwood is one of those to be scared of, for sure. I think, fans do pay a lot of money, especially with ticket prices. They got raised a little bit, and I don't think a lot of people realize how much Rupp Arena tickets are, especially those really good seats. But if you look back at older schedules, it's not like those first few games were powerhouse schools anyway. I remember being a student at UK, you knew that you were probably going to get a ticket in those lotteries because they were not very good teams. So I think, moving those teams to neutral sites stinks, but a lot of the home schedule is about the same caliber as it has been.
You were there during the dark years, during the Gillespie years.
Yes, I was.
Andrew, they have these non-conference games you talked about, the big ones being, of course, Duke, which is the Champions Classic, Baylor, the Notre Dame game. When you look at that schedule, what's the marquee game that jumps out of you? Is it one of those neutral site games, or is it Louisville?
I think Louisville is going to be a huge game this year with the talent they have coming back and potential maybe number 1, number 2 preseason. I think that's the biggest game of them all, no doubt about it, especially after we knocked them off in the Final Four last year. Yeah. They're hungry. They are hungry.
And I'm sure Kentucky's going to be ready for them, too. Absolutely. It'll be a good matchup. Now, as Kentucky gets ready for that non-conference schedule, the conference schedule will remain the same except for the addition of Texas A&M and Missouri. And Tennessee's Jarnell Stokes is ready for the Cats. He said, quote, "It's definitely going to be different this year. We plan on winning in Rupp Arena." Tennessee is not the Tennessee they used to be, Andrew. They got a little better under Quanzo Martin as the season went along, partially because Jarnell Stokes was there. But is this crazy talk?
Honestly, if I'm Stokes, I need to have that mentality. I don't fault him at all for having that winning mentality. He needs to have the mentality, hey, I'm going to go in Rupp Arena and we're going to win this thing. If I'm a big player, big-time player like he is, and don't have that mentality, I'm worried. But I think it's a little far-fetched. Maybe it's not so realistic.
It's a little crazy. Now, Leslie, do you think Tennessee is there are a couple of teams that can contend with Kentucky in the SEC maybe. Is Tennessee in that group yet?
I don't think Tennessee's in that group, and I think Jarnell Stokes is showing his immaturity. He did just learn how to tie his shoes last season and his first practice. I remember they played that up so much. But I was reading an article where he has gained a lot of confidence playing with that under-18 USA team. So maybe it's wishful thinking, but they're not going to come in.
He doesn't stretch. Jimmy Dykes told us he doesn't stretch. Yeah. He obviously isn't stretching his brain muscles right now. We know that much. Now, Auburn said, Coach Tony Barbie, who's with Calipari, said that he's ready to think that they're a contender. I think that's also a little bit of crazy talk. But when you look, Andrew, at the teams in the SEC, is it still Florida the number one nipping at the heels, or do you like one of these new teams coming in?
I think Florida is going to be. I think the Missouri game is going to be great at home, but ultimately I think the Florida's SEC matchup is going to be the biggest.
Yeah, agree, Florida?
I agree. They return way too many big guys.
I'm going to go with Missouri. I'm going to be crazy. Now, speaking of crazy, maybe in a good way, DeMarcus Cousins is, of course, playing on the select team in the Olympics right now, training with Team USA. Andrew Jerry Colangelo, the president of USA Basketball, said that he needed to grow up. DeMarcus confronted Jerry Colangelo yesterday and said basically what are you talking about? I want to know why you're saying I'm immature. Did you like that from Cousins, or do you think that's an example of what they're talking about?
I liked it from Cousins. I think ever since he's been at UK, he's had a bad rep from the country. And so I think he should call him out and say, well, why do you feel that way? Explain to me. Because you have guys like Carmelo and LeBron publicly stating how good he's been playing. Although they did say he fouls a little bit too much, and that could be a little bit with the maturity. And I agree a little bit. I think he does need to grow up because DeMarcus Cousins, he isn't representing the University of Kentucky. He isn't representing Sacramento Kings. He's representing the United States of America. So we need mature athletes representing our country.
And Leslie, to go off of that point, DeMarcus is a guy who's been, I guess his immaturity has never been really harmful immaturity, other than he likes to goof off. He's not a guy that really destroys the team, except he's the best player and he needs to be focused. Do you think being at this environment with Team USA is a place where he can learn that to take back to the NBA, how to be a professional and how to be that positive leader?
I do, and I think we talked about it yesterday, how he's just silly and he's goofy and he's misunderstood. But a lot of people were harping about how good of an opportunity this is for Anthony Davis. This is just as good for DeMarcus Cousins. You're learning from all of these older guys, how to behave better, be mature. And I think what he did by going up and saying, how was I immature, was a great thing. He's just looking for constructive criticism. I don't think he's going to pick a fight. So I agree with what he did.
Yeah, if you don't address that, if DeMarcus Cousins lets that go, it goes in reports. The end of the story is the president of USA Basketball, Jerry Colangelo, says he's immature. He confronted him. Now the story is they've never even met each other. They've never even talked. Right. DeMarcus has never even talked to Coach K, and it was my perception. And then DeMarcus, I thought, I like the way he handled it.
I agree.
Now, of course, as they get ready to go to the Olympics in London, it's a group of the best players in the world from the NBA. But some are saying it might be time to return to having amateur athletes compete. College players in the Olympics. It worked for the United States for a long time, Andrew. They did very well. Then the other countries started sending their pro players. Suddenly they got good, and they were beating the United States. And then the Dream Team came along. They killed them. Do you think it's time to return it to amateur, though? Do you want to see the college guys playing in the Olympics?
I don't. I think we need to have the best athletes representing our country because I think it'd be a great opportunity for the young athletes, but I don't think we're going to win. Spain's going to be a tough competitor this year with the lack of bigs that we have. LeBron James even said, or Kobe Bryant also both said that they're a little worried that they don't have any big players down there. So I think it'd be good for them, but I don't think we should revert all back to amateur players.
Yeah, I agree with you. If we were going to go outside and play, we'd want to make even teams because it'd be fun.
Right.
But when it's the United States of America, I want to beat every team by 50 points. Let's send everybody we have out there and crush them. Leslie, do you think that there is a benefit, though, of sending guys that are young, college players, even guys coming out of high school to compete over there to get them ready, or is it you agree with the NBA guys?
I mean, I agree that it should be just NBA, but I see the positive side of that. That's the reason that I like college basketball better than NBA. I think NBA players lose the whole sight of the ball game, the passion of the ball game. They're just getting paid to do it. Sometimes I don't think they care. College, they have that passion, they have that drive, and some of the best players are their best when they're in college, so why not have them play?
Yeah, I like the idea of bringing these NBA guys together. I got to get those LeBron James shoes. If you say it's $250, though, I can't afford them. But I like those Olympic shoes. Now, the Knicks yesterday made a trade with the Houston Rockets. They acquired Marcus Camby, and they sent a bunch of guys we don't care about to Houston, along with Josh Harrelson, Jorts. Now, off the top, Houston's roster, Andrew, is just tons of big guys at this point. They're still, I guess, going to make a trade. But do you like, on the surface, let's say Josh Harrelson stays in Houston, do you like that fit, or do you hope he's a part of a deal somewhere else?
Houston, we have a problem. We have too many bigs in Houston, like you stated. I like Jorts down there. I think he is a likable guy. So his determination and his will to win, I think wherever he goes, and like you said, he may end up getting traded because of all the bigs down there. I think he's a good fit for Houston, being out west. I like it. Actually, the other night he was up in northern Kentucky playing volleyball at a tournament. I spoke with him on the phone, and he didn't mention this, of course, but he's just a likable guy, asked how I was, and so wherever he goes, he's going to fit well.
Was he crushing, spiking the ball on people up there? I'd like to see what he does.
They're the champs. They won. So.
Ringer. That doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Now, Leslie, Josh Harrelson, it was kind of a surprise when he got to the NBA. He's worked very hard to get there. He played well in some minutes for the Knicks. Long term, do you think that Houston's a great organization? A lot of people respect it. That's a team where he can fit in and become. Chuck Hayes found a spot in the NBA because people respect his work ethic and the way he played every day. Do you think Josh can be that kind of guy?
I think he can be that kind of guy, but not in Houston. I think that he's not going to stay there that long. I think that there is a trade waiting to happen there, and I think that he could fall behind because Royce Wright is ahead of him, Patrick Patterson's ahead of him. There's so many really good guys ahead of him that he can learn from, but I don't think with those extra playing minutes that he's going to do very much there.
Real quick, you have to buy one Houston Rockets jersey. Who's it going to be?
Patrick Patterson.
Dang it, you stole my Patterson. Yeah.
Patrick Patterson. Okay.